Good morning, everyone. I hope and pray that you are fine wherever you are. I am okay and Kenya is fine. First, I want to thank my viewers. I want to thank my majority viewers from Kenya. I want to thank my viewers from the United States. I want to thank my viewers from the United Kingdom. And I also want to thank my viewers from India. In this platform, we discuss issues that affect us nationally, regionally, continent-wise, and globally. This platform is for current issues and a prediction for future developments. We tackle issues that affect our everyday lives and issues that are still in question. I would kindly request that if you are watching this platform, this video for the first time, kindly take 2 or 3 seconds and subscribe to this platform. Having said that, we all remember that the world came to a standstill 3 years ago. In early 2020, the world and global citizens woke up to the sad news of a pandemic. In my country, Kenya, the first case of coronavirus was reported on 13th March 2020. Since then, many have lost their lives. Approximately 6.9 million people have died due to the virus. Many lost their close family members. Many lost their fathers, many lost their mothers, many lost their brothers, sisters, and other members of the close family. I lost my friends, and I lost very close people that were significant in my life. But despite such losses, there are still questions than answers to what happened. My government, the Kenyan government, made me believe that COVID-19, coronavirus, originated from Wuhan, China, as a result of an accidental laboratory leak. I know many who will be watching this video have been fed this lie. Many have been informed by their governments that coronavirus was an accidental laboratory leak from Wuhan, China. At this point, I think those who lost their relatives, those who lost their family members, need answers. When my father died in 2012, I was told, and my family was told, the cause of death, the time of death. And with that confirmation, our minds and hearts were settled. I think global citizens who lost their loved ones as a result of COVID-19 need answers for their hearts and minds to settle. I want to inform the world that at the time of making this video, Wuhan, China, the United States FBI, the World Health Organizations, and individual governments across the world were yet to issue a conclusive statement confirming or affirming what really happened in early 2020. There have been reports from various organizations across the world detailing what really happened in Wuhan, China, to lead to coronavirus pandemic. On February 28th, 2023, FBI Director Christopher Wray maintained that COVID-19 most likely originated from a Chinese government-controlled laboratory. I want you to underline the phrase Chinese government-controlled laboratory. This was, according to the FBI, a government facility. The Wuhan Institute of Virology issued another statement claiming that coronavirus might have originated from animals, bats. The FBI is telling us that coronavirus was an accidental laboratory leak from a Chinese government-controlled lab. The Wuhan Institute of Virology is telling us that this virus was as a result of natural causes, meaning that it originated from bats. The World Health Organization sent its officials in Wuhan, China, to try and understand what really happened. After 12 days of investigation, the WHO officials concluded that an accidental laboratory leak was extremely unlikely. WHO is not an ordinary organization. It is a global organization attached to the United Nations, tasked with maintaining health and security of the global population. WHO told us in early 2021 that the accidental laboratory leak theory was wrong and it was extremely unlikely. The Chinese Foreign Affairs Ministry affirmed that the assertion that coronavirus was as a result of accidental laboratory leak was wrong. The Chinese government, through the Foreign Affairs Ministry, established that the argument that coronavirus was as a result of laboratory leak was wrong. This contradicts statements from the United States. It contradicts statements from other research bodies. With these conflicting statements, and with the governments yet to give us a conclusive statement of what really happened in Wuhan, China, that led to the death of more than 6 million people, I tend to believe that coronavirus might be one of the bioweapons which was under test. A bioweapon is a virus which is weaponized. A virus which is weaponized. I tend to believe, with the current conflicting statements from China, from the United States, and from across the world, I tend to believe that coronavirus was a bioweapon. The history of bioweapons is long, and it would not be the first time that bioweapons are being tested in the global space. If you are a lover of books and a lover of research, You would remember that in the 1960s, the United States Army developed a bioweapon in the name of Q fever. The primary goal of developing this weapon was to cripple enemies and drain them of their resources. In the 1960s, I am saying, the United States developed Q fever, which was a bioweapon with the intention of crippling enemies and denying them access to resources. That was one instant in the 1960s. Now, when I come to 1990-1991 Iraq, during the first Gulf War between Saddam Hussein, the then leader of Iraq, and the United States led coalition and the United Nations, Saddam Hussein developed a bioweapon in the name of botulinum toxin. In the development of this weapon, Saddam Hussein, through his army, designed 19,000, if I am not wrong, 19,000 gallons of this bioweapon with the intention of using it during the Operation Desert Storm between 1990 and 1991. And the intention of using this weapon was to paralyze and kill US-led coalition soldiers. I take you back a little bit in the earlier Soviet Union. The Soviet Union developed a bioweapon known as Mabag. Although this weapon was never used, but it was developed and it had the capacity of killing 90% of the population. In 2001, that is somehow recent, the United States FBI investigated a case of anthrax bioweapon which was released in Oregon, United States. This bioweapon killed 5 people and 17 people were injured and hospitalized. I am just giving you cases where bioweapons have been used. With these cases, we confirm that bioweapons are a reality and bioweapons can be used. And we also confirm that bioweapons have the capacity of killing numerous people across the world. The United States has been a victim of bioweapons. Iraq has been a victim of bioweapons. The Soviet Union, which is currently largely known as Russia, has been a victim of bioweapons. I tend to believe that with the Chinese government hiding potential information that could give clue on what really happened at Wuhan, China, the United States FBI giving conflicting information about the same, our governments continuously lying to us that coronavirus was as a result of accidental lab leak, I believe that China and maybe other concerned parties might have used this virus as a bioweapon. The world is developing so fast, and the world is moving so fast. Militarily, countries and governments are moving away from heavy artillery. They are moving away from tanks. They are moving away from ballistic missiles, and they are moving closer to using nuclear weapons. Some governments have become so smart to identify and conclude that nuclear weapons are becoming outdated, and these governments are sponsoring extensive research in bioweapons. Bioweapons have the potential of killing people slowly, maiming many without trace. Could the coronavirus pandemic be one of the examples of testing of bioweapons? Could this virus inform the recklessness of our governments? Could this virus inform the lies that our governments have been telling us? To answer these questions, I tend to believe that with the confusion between governments, with the confusion between China, with the ongoing confusion between the United States and other global bodies in establishing what really happened in Wuhan, China, I believe that coronavirus might be one of the biological weapons, bioweapons, which was under test and may be launched very soon. I predict future war where countries will not fight using missiles. Countries will not fight using heavy artillery. Countries will not fight using fighter jets, but countries will fight using bioweapons. I want to inform my viewers that if there is one thing that you must not do is to trust your governments. Governments comprise of politicians, and one of the driving forces of politicians is lies and propaganda. A politician will tell you one and then does two. A politician will tell you yes, then does no. In my lifetime, I have learned and concluded that politicians are people not to be trusted. A politician will come to you when you are poor. He will walk on foot, or she will walk on foot, come to you to celebrate your poverty, while the same politician has a car park full of high-end vehicles. The same politician has a private jet. The same politician will come and lie to you, celebrate your poverty. I want to urge my viewers, never trust your governments. Politicians are driven by profits and interests. They can do everything to make sure that they achieve the two motivations. Politicians will sell their citizens to ensure that they secure their interests. They will sell their citizens to ensure that they make profits. I challenge the Chinese government. I challenge the Chinese Foreign Ministry. I challenge the Wuhan Institute of Virology. I challenge the FBI. I challenge the United States. And I challenge independent governments across the world to give a conclusive statement on what really happened in Wuhan, China. By doing this, you will give those who lost their loved ones to COVID-19 a rest. You will give them something to stick on. You will give them an explanation of what really happened to their loved ones. If China does not know what really happened, then that means that no one knows in the world what really happened. If China has no definite conclusion, has no definite explanation of what really happened in Wuhan, then I believe and I maintain that there is no government that has a definite explanation of what really happened in Wuhan. The virus started in China, and it is the Chinese who have the capability of establishing what really happened. If China is incapable of explaining what really happened, then I must consider the United States irrelevant in trying to explain what really happened. I might consider the WHO irrelevant in trying to explain what really happened. Global citizens, researchers, virologists, I am here to argue that coronavirus was a bioweapon. I completed a master's paper recently, and one of the investigative features, one of the investigative demands in that paper was to explain the global motivations of China. I tried to explain the motivations of China using a simple question. What does China really want? And my answer to this question was specific and straight. Respect. Many countries across the world want respect. Many countries across the world claim for independence. Many countries across the world claim for sovereignty. China joins a list of countries that demands respect from the world. China has been in complete loggerheads with the United States for a very long time. And currently, I think as we speak, the tensions between the US and China is still rising. China demands one thing from the United States: respect. If China's motivations are true, that it demands respect, then developing a bioweapon that can wipe out United States population and can also bring all other economies to their knees might be one of the strategies that China might want to use. It is not only China. Any other country that might want to climb the superpower ladder might develop bioweapons to gain control of the whole world. Remember, with a bioweapon, a country, a government, an individual, an institution can gain control of the whole world. Remember the effects of COVID-19, and remember the damage that this virus did to the world. Even currently, global economies are still recovering from the after effects of COVID-19. This explains how exhaustive, how explorative, and how damaging a bioweapon can be. I believe, and you will share your thoughts on this, that if China is incapable of telling us what really happened, if the United States through FBI is incapable of telling us what really happened, if research organizations are incapable of telling us what really happened in 2020 with the COVID-19 virus, if independent governments are incapable of explaining to us what really happened, then I believe that coronavirus was a bioweapon which was under development and was being tested in the global space and might be used in the future. That is my thought, and I believe many will share in my thoughts. The World Health Organization is yet to tell us what really happened. One is yet to tell us what really happened, and it is now 3 years. I don't know what you think, but to me, I believe the governments need to tell us what really happened in China, so that our hearts, those who lost their loved ones, can have a rest. It would be heartwarming. It would be comforting to realize that, and to get an explanation that your loved one died because of this, this, and this. As at now, people who lost their loved ones are yet to get an explanation of what really happened. I think it is really painful, and I share in the pain, because I also lost some people who are very close to me due to the coronavirus. If these governments merge together to develop and test a bioweapon, then I think the world is at a greater stake. Some claim that the United States and China might have merged together to develop coronavirus as a bioweapon. This argument, in part, might hold some water, but I don't know. I tend to think, and I tend to argue, that coronavirus was a bioweapon which was under development in China and was tested in 2020. And I think if this is true, then the institution charged with this development has answers that coronavirus is capable of bringing the global economy at a standstill. I want to urge my viewers, one thing you must not do is to trust your governments. Let me repeat. One thing that you must not do is to trust your governments. Your governments comprise politicians. Politicians are driven by interests and profits. A politician will do everything to secure profits and secure their interests. If it is killing half of the population to gain profits and secure interest, a politician will do that. So one thing that you should not do is to trust your governments and politicians. In the world today, governments are capable of doing anything. It is uncommon. It is common nowadays to hear of wars everywhere. There is fighting in Africa. People are fighting in DR Congo. People are fighting in Sudan. People are fighting in Ethiopia. There is fighting in Syria. There is fighting in Ukraine. There is a brewing war between the United States and China. And in these places, weapons are used. There is a threat of nuclear weapons in these fights. But I want to tell you that soon nuclear weapons will be out of the picture. Bioweapons will be an appropriate alternative. And it is your governments that will engineer the use of these weapons. In this video, I claim that coronavirus was a bioweapon under test. What makes me come to this conclusion is because of the inconclusive statements from China, from the United States, and from across the world. They are yet to tell us, 3 years, they are still yet to tell us what really happened. China is refuting claims of accidental lab leak, which has been fed to many across the world, including me in Kenya. China is claiming that this virus might have come from birds. The World Health Organization is claiming and affirming that the accidental lab leak is extremely unlikely. As citizens, we still wonder with the question, what is likely? What is likely? What happened? What is the explanation behind coronavirus? Governments must be put to task. People died, and they must explain what happened. To me, and I think to many, coronavirus was a bioweapon, unless proved otherwise.